In the heart of the deep, lush jungle lived a tiger named Tama. Tama was no ordinary tiger. He had a peculiar habit of telling tall tales. Tama spun stories so grandiose that even the parakeets stopped chirping, and the monkeys paused their antics just to listen to him speak. One bright morning, the sun filtered beautifully through the emerald canopy, and the forest was abuzz with excitement. The annual Great Jungle Feast was to be held later that week, and every creature prepared in their own special way. Tama, however, had something rather mischievous in mind. His eyes glinted with mischief, and he began to spin his most elaborate tale yet. He bounded onto a large rock in the center of the forest and roared for everyone's attention. Curious, creatures from all over gathered around as an expectant hush fell over the crowd. "Have you all heard?" began Tama with an exaggerated gasp. "There will be a flood the likes of which we have never seen before. It will wash away the entire feast." Gasps of horror echoed through the crowd, and panic began to set in. Birds flapped their wings nervously, the deer shifted uneasily, and the chattering monkeys fell silent. Tama could barely hide his chuckle, seeing the fright he had caused. "What should we do?" bawled an anxious elephant. Feigning seriousness, Tama suggested, "We'll need to build a great raft to carry all the food to the safety of the treetops." The animals scurried off to gather materials, leaving Tama smugly pleased with his day's mischief. However, a wise old tortoise named Tolbert wasn't convinced by Tama's tale. He had watched as the tiger grinned gleefully at the other animals' distress, and he knew Tama's reputation well. Tolbert decided it was time to teach Tama a lesson. That night, as the jungle settled under the blanket of nightfall, Tolbert whispered his plan to the other animals. Reluctant at first, the animals realized they no longer wished to be at the mercy of Tama's lies. On the day of the feast, everything was ready, brightly decorated and exciting. But Tama, planning another ruse, arrived with a new, even more outrageous story. However, before he could start, Tolbert interrupted him. "Tama," the old tortoise said calmly, "we have heard that a great lion from the mountains has come to crown himself as king of our jungle. He seeks a tiger's pelt for his coat." Tama's eyes widened in fear. "Here, now," he stuttered. "Yes, he's coming now, in fact," Tolbert nodded, hiding his amusement. Terrified, Tama darted into the dense undergrowth to hide, while the creatures chuckled, finally enjoying their feast. They feasted and frolicked, with no sign of the imaginary lion, and as the day slipped into night, they called for Tama to join them. Reluctantly, Tama stepped out, clearly embarrassed, for there had been no lion. The crowd surrounded him, and Tolbert calmly spoke. "You see, Tama, this is what your stories do. They frighten and deceive. Today you ran and hid because for once you believed." Feeling a mix of embarrassment and enlightenment, Tama hung his head. "I understand now, dear friends. From this day on, I shall speak only the truth and work to earn your trust," he promised, feeling the warmth of sincerity wash over him. The jungle animals nodded approvingly, and thus began a kinder chapter in Tama's life. From that day forth, Tama became known not for his lies, but for his wise tales, remembered fondly by young animals throughout the jungle.